The gang had 2 weeks off. We're ready to get back going. It's the second part of the regular season. Who is going to make that late season push as we head into the playoffs? Talk about next here on Stuck in the Catch Fence. As my co-host Joe Spillman would say, "Slap." So we're ready to get going here, guys. We had our 2 week hiatus, 2 week vacation. I was catching 20-pound salmon up in Michigan. Travis, you started a new career, went to Eldora to the big half-mile dirt track. Joe, you got your pro license now in iRacing. It's been a good 2 weeks off for us
I
here on.
just,
Oh, hold on. 2 weeks of racing for me has been nothing but getting junked. So
Well,
this has been an awful 2 weeks. Let's just
you
be real.
drive further than what you actually race.
yeah.
I haven't made it past one lap of a heat race yet.
That's
I've
I
been
went
ranked
all the
in
way.
first
I
lap.
went all the way to Eldora to watch you get wrecked.
I know. That is what it is.
But you were there. I mean, not everybody can say.
Yeah,
they're
it was an
there.
experience. I got GoPro footage. I'll get posted and stuff. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
It's a lot like iRacing. I will be 100% honest with you. It's pretty close.
Oh
It's
God,
fun.
Joe just busted the seams in his shorts.
I did. I'm actually not wearing shorts. I knew that.
That's true. It's
It
very
was
hot.
going to be from here down, so I just didn't put any on.
Yeah. So, Joe, did you have a good 2 weeks vacation there during the middle of this season?
Yeah, I was wondering where you guys went. Like, I've been texting you guys, and I'm like, "Hey, are we going to get the band back together and all that shit?" And Travis, I got a middle finger from him, and then I got like a wavy hand from you, and I don't know what any of that shit means. And I was like, "It's cool. I'm just going to iRace."
Yeah, I was up in Minnesota. I went to Minneapolis, which I.
Oh yeah, don't you know?
Yeah, not that. No, God, I would not ever go back there. But my daughter had a tournament there, and then we stayed on Lake Michigan, which was really really fun. So I saw some other drivers out there, and we'll just jump right into the news since we missed. I'm sure other people have already talked a lot about it. We'll just kind of skim over it. Connor Zilic was announced today that he will be going to Junior Motorsports, so he will be full time in the 88. Travis brought up a good point in our own messages. Is somebody leaving? Is there going to be 5 cars? You guys can allude to that. Corey LaJoie got the boot. He is no longer in the 7 car. And then Spire made another move where Travis Peterson will be coming to Spire, which makes sense because we wondered why Rodney Childers wasn't going to be Michael McDowell's crew chief, and they're bringing over Michael McDowell's current crew chief over from front row. And then, unfortunately for Travis as well, the guy that he doesn't like on his own race car team now chooses to represent a soft drink he absolutely can't stand. A Hooters sponsorship that disappeared will now be filled by Coca-Cola by Chase Elliott this weekend at Richmond. So, Joe, I'll lead it off with you and let Travis manifest all the emotions he has right now. What is there anything that with that news coming to light to you?
I think Corey LaJoie's a big one. I mean, out of everything, I mean, I don't give a damn about what people put on their cars. I mean, I know Travis is going to sit in bed and cry at night and stare at his Pepsi machine and go, why? But like Corey LaJoie losing his ride, that was kind of a shock to me. I feel like he's a good enough driver that, that he will be back in the Cup Series. I don't know next year. I don't know who's going to pick him up, but that's kind of a shock. Outside of that, I mean, we'll see what happens with the other news. I can't comment on that too much. I haven't really done the research into that or really have an opinion, formulated one. But yeah, Corey LaJoie being ousted is a big one to me, and I'm going to sit back and watch, see what develops out of that.
Travis?
I mean, it's a bold statement to say that you wrote a personal letter to Rick Hendrick. Got to drive the car one time last year and didn't perform very. You got outdrove by your own car, and then you lost your ride with Spire. So Corey LaJoie's had an interesting last what 2 years, 2 3 years, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of saw it coming, especially you have Carson Hocevar outrunning per se the 7 car, which is probably the more funded car per se. And obviously we saw how Ty Dillon last year drove the 77 car. It was atrocious, right?
Like Ty Dillon. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, yeah,
He drove it like Ty Dillon.
I know.
Ty Dillon is
So
the greatest race car driver on the planet.
so I
Every
think you
universe.
just look at stuff like that. Like where are we at here? So I I think it's great that Michael McDowell. I think he's kind of at a peak of his career, and he gets to go with a crew chief he's got along with very well, done honestly very well with. So I'm interested to see the 7 car. I have my own speculations about the 7 car. As you guys know, I sent it in our group chat, but I don't know about Corey LaJoy. I think I could see him. He's gonna go to a lower team. I'm sorry, but he is not gonna go to a tier. I could see him going to a maybe doing like an Eric Almirola where he goes to a Joe Gibbs ride for 12, 15 races if he wants to go do that. But I don't see him being in something competitive with anything. This is going to be probably the most competitive ride he's ever going to get, unless he somehow finds
Yeah.
a 36 race sponsorship.
Yeah. I mean, sponsorships never really followed Corey LaJoy's entire career, so I don't really see that
Hey,
happening.
water heaters.
Yeah, so I mean, sounds like he'll be stacking resumes instead of stacking pennies here anytime soon. But I think Connor Zilic, again, another Trackhouse driver that's going to be on loan. Something we've seen Trackhouse do a lot, but makes sense. Connor Zilic and Dale Jr. got a good relationship. He's drove the car a few times already, so that's good. Like you said, Travis Peterson, continue that continuity. Why break up something that's led to Michael McDowell having the best 2 year 2 year span of his entire career, and then coming over to Spire. And I think Spire's the bigger news is that they just continue to shell out money. They want to win, and whoever fills that 7 car, it will be very, very interesting because they have went pure on the side of people that have done this sport for a long time. So if they fill it with somebody like Sam Mayer, that would go completely in the face of what they've done so far. Mm-hmm. They hired 2 younger guys, said Corey LaJoy will let you be the flagship of the station. But I think once we've seen Zane Smith run good here recently in terms of what he's been doing, I think that was the nail in the coffin for Corey LaJoy. Once Zane Smith started running in the top 12, top 15 as of late, I think that was it's not us, it's him. So
yep.
But
I think you just even look at it from the perspective of Spire just keeps putting more and more money into this thing, right? They're writing blank checks. They're writing blank checks. I mean, I can't imagine that check. What Rodney Children? How many numbers? I mean, he had to put an 8-number figure on that blank check, right?
Yep. And
you think about, we all were shocked, like, oh my god, he's gonna go with Corey LaJoy, and then obviously 2 or 3 weeks later, Corey LaJoy gets the boot. So I'm interested. I have my thought. Like I said, I got some opinions about what that's going to look like. So Ryan might be a little happy. I don't know, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'd be happy if Brexton got it right here recently. I don't really care anymore. It's been a rough go. It's been nice to clear my mind for 2 weeks, but let's go ahead and jump into the main segment today. We're talking about a late season push, and I want to get your guys' opinion. A driver that's either going to push his way into the playoffs or a driver that's going to solidify himself at the top of the playoffs. We only have 4 races left. We have Richmond this weekend. It looks like the Hurricane will miss. From what I checked today, I think we're going to get the race in on Sunday night. I also have a fantasy draft Sunday night, but if you're going to have a fantasy draft, it's probably the best out of these 4 races to do it when Richmond's going on. Then we go to Michigan, Daytona, and then Darlington, and then the playoffs start. So, Travis, I'll let you be pole position. What driver right now do you have your eyes on making a late season push to impact his way either into the playoffs or solidify himself at the top of it?
I know, Ryan, you're going to disagree with this, but I am still on the Kyle Busch train. And this is my point. He has the last 5 to 7 races. He has not ran bad, right? He's been the top 5. He has been there. if you
Those
take
are accurate statements. I will
if
agree with that.
you look at if you take it from 7 laps to go, I thought about this. If you look at him from 7 laps to go in the last 7 races, and you take those points, I think he's within almost 10 points of the playoff. But he finished it all. He's only had one top 10 in those 7 races.
Yeah.
And in those 7 races, he has been inside the top 5 and under 7 laps to go. He is there. I think they've got the right strategy a lot of time, but he is just not finished. I mean, I think about Indy, like, man, like what a mistake. Like, I keep thinking that it's other
You mean
people's
where his
fault.
spotter said clearly, "Hey, we just need to finish this one out. We're in a good spot," and then he wrecked 2 seconds later.
I mean, I'm pretty
That
sure
Indy.
Larson won, but I'm sitting there going, like, oh my God. And you think of, we think of other places, right? We think of Sonoma, right? You just think about all the Gateway, like all these places,
I don't want to
right?
think about Gateway Track.
So
I don't want to think about Nashville.
He has been there, right? I am not counting out. You never count Kyle Busch. I'm sorry, but you can never count out one of the greatest of all time. So I think Kyle Busch makes a search. He's got to win. That's the only way
He's got to win. Yeah, he's
Gotta win.
113 points out. I checked today.
I don't remember how he did at Richmond the first time around. I think he might have got a top 10 out of that.
I think it was only 30.
Michigan, I don't think he's going to be too bad, in my opinion. I think that's one of their stronger tracks for the 8 car. Obviously, you have Daytona. And then what? Darlington. So, I think you got to look at.
I think Daytona is by far, based upon what we see speed-wise out of RCR, that's by far his best chance.
I'm not giving him a chance. I know, if we're saying Daytona, it's still a toss-up race, but I'm still saying that Kyle Busch has ran solid enough to be in the playoffs, but obviously, the finishes haven't been there at the end.
Yeah. Well, looking at the Richmond finishes, not a good race for Spire. They finished last and next to last, with Corey LaJoie getting last place.
They wrecked each other first lap, didn't they?
Yep. Kyle Busch finished 20th, which historically he's been really, really good at Richmond, but all the short tracks with RCR suck. Joe, what are your thoughts on Kyle Busch as the person making a late season push?
I think it's possible. I thought he was only about 30 points to the bad.
No, it's like
getting in. Okay.
No, it's 100. It's 100.
Okay, I was a little off on that. I thought he was only 30 points out for making it. But, Travis, I was actually going to, after I talked about J.J. Yaley and his late season push over the next 4 races, I really think that he has a shot at least watching the final couple races of the season, if he could pay his electric bill at this point.
He does have a shot at watching.
Yeah, so, I mean, Travis is absolutely right. I mean, at Indy, he's in position for a top 10 finish. I think he was 7th when he wrecked, right?
5th.
No, he was 5th. Yeah,
he's 5th, top 5. Yeah. And that one was all him, wasn't it? I mean, he 100%. Just got lost it. Yeah,
100% his fault.
And then of course, and not to bring up bad news, but I mean, he got fucked at Nashville, right? So, I mean, he did, but I mean, you take those 2 races right there. He gets a top 5. He finishes in top 5 in Nashville. I think he's right on the. I mean, he's on the cusp. Then, I mean, we're not even talking about 100 points.
We're talking. He is lost. I think I did the math kind of just very nonchalant. I think he has lost like 78 points in the last 7 races from just not finishing.
Yeah. So
he's wrecked in 5 of the last 7.
If you just look at where he was running with like 7 or 10 laps to go, he would be in the playoffs.
Let's say Nashville, he doesn't have that bad luck, and he finishes top 3. He finishes top 5 in Indy, I think, and he finishes those other races. I think he's in the playoffs currently.
It would be close. Because think about it. He went from Nashville, he went 4th to 30th.
Right.
So that's 26 points. And then you look at Brickyard. He went 5th to 30th. There's another 25. So we're talking about 50 points right there.
Right. I certainly think. I mean, I still think even with RCR's trouble and how terrible they've been, I still think anytime you put Kyle Busch in a race car, he can win a race. He can win a race with the shittiest equipment. He's one of the best drivers to ever drive a damn car. And even though they've been that bad, and with the super speedway coming up, I mean, that's anybody's ball game. Hell, JJ Yeley could win that. I mean, seriously, at the end of the day, a couple things go right. He's on the lead lap at the end of the race. Fucking JJ Yeley can win in a super speedway. So I'm not discounting him yet. I hope, I mean, for NASCAR's sake and your sanity, Ryan, I hope he gets into the playoffs. I don't think it'll be quite right without Kyle Busch in the playoffs.
Unfortunately, I have become just completely like uh, inept's not the right word, but just like nothing phases me anymore. Like I don't get upset. It just washes over me, and I'm like, yeah, that's
And
about
this
what
is
happens.
and
So
this is like a typical Bush move, though, right? Like if you think about Kurt Busch, went from the highest of highs to just kind of to a low point to
on his
eventually.
own doing though, but
Yeah,
like,
I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. But I got this conversation for a different time. But I think Kyle Busch could have took a little pay cut and he would have been he would have been way happier.
hell yeah, hindsight being 2020, absolutely would. The thing that I will disagree with you guys on is the reason why he's been running up front is not because of speed. Practice speed has been terrible. Qualifying speed has been terrible. It's been Randall Burnett flipping when it comes to the fuel strategy to get him up front. So I want to give credit to Randall Burnett. I know he gets a lot of shit in the rowdy forums and the rowdy different pages and things like that. If it wasn't for Randall Burnett, they would not be up front because, as you can tell with Austin Dillon, he doesn't have Randall Burnett, and he continues to run in the very, very back with the same speed that they show in practice and qualifying. Um, I don't think that's going to happen at Richmond. I don't. Richmond is a boring race. It's going to be again not very fun. They're going to have the option tire. If it's anything remotely close to North Wilkesboro, it means nothing. So flipping Michigan, that's a possibility. He also wrecked there in the first 6 laps. I know. I was there. When it comes to Daytona, I think that's his best chance. That's where he's shown the most speed. Had a legitimate shot of winning the Daytona 500 last year until Daniel Suarez ruined his opportunity there. Had a decent shot this year. Um, and then you go back to another kind of different track, one that he used to be good at in Darlington, but it's just simply there's just not a lot of speed there, and you got to have speed at Richmond. You got to have speed you definitely got to have speed at Michigan, and you got to have a good controlling car at Darlington, and I just simply don't see it. This is not an indictment on Kyle Busch. I firmly believe that RCR is the lowest of the low, and unfortunately, what we got tricked. I mean, we had the rug pulled under us when he won last year. My thoughts on RCR should have been the same of what they were when Tyler Reddick left. I thought RCR was garbage then. I thought that Tyler Reddick made a great move. Joe and I had a conversation. I thought that Richard Childress would buy out of the sport because of how terrible they were. Kyle Busch made that an opportunity to win, and we're still holding on to that when that's been 18 months ago. That was just literally a 11 race span where Kyle Busch showed promise in that car. Austin Dillon never did. And now it's like everything has come back to what RCR has. And unfortunately, it's just not been the same from what we thought could possibly be. We're holding Kyle Busch to the standard, but I think that we're elevating RCR because of what Kyle Busch was able to do. Maybe only Kyle Busch could do that. I don't know who could have. I don't know if Denny Hamlin could have won 3 races at the beginning of the year at RCR. I honestly don't know. Maybe Tyler Reddick is somebody that could do something like that because we see now he's 4th place in the driver standings. I mean, he's got a chance literally to win the regular season championship. So maybe it's just those 2 drivers that elevated it. This is never an indictment against Kyle Busch. I still think he's got a lot in the tank. I think he's maybe a 6th to 8th place driver now with this car. This car does not fit his style. But with RCR still making the cars, man, I just won't do it. I simply can't do it. So, Joe, I will pass the mantle to you.
No, I can't disagree with you at all. I think RCR is absolute trash, and I think they are. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for RCR. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. I know we passed around a text message today that I called bullshit on. I don't know if you want to get into that, but
We'll save that for
okay.
I could do a whole show on that. On
So
RCI. So,
yeah,
what's your
well,
driver, Joe, for the late season push here?
uh, oh, I don't. I was thinking, Kyle Busch, and that Travis said what he said. He had that. So I don't know. I will say this: as much as I hate the guy, and I can't believe I'm going here. As much as I hate this, and have to say this, I've been absolutely impressed by the way Darrell Wallace Jr. has been driving a race car. Who do you think I was going to say?
That's not where I think he was going. Go ahead.
Well,
Floor's
no,
yours.
I mean, he's. It seems like here lately, when it matters, it seems like Uh,
He's finishing races,
yeah,
unlike
yeah,
Kyle Busch.
yeah. Unlike Kyle Busch. Who do you think I was going to say?
It's going to be my driver, so I'm not telling you.
Okay, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, to be honest with you, I hope the dude spins himself out and wrecks the next 4 races and doesn't get into the playoffs because I can't stand the guy. But I think we're going to see a Darrell Wallace Jr. in the playoffs this year.
I think that, and I've said this to you and previously before that, I think he's one of the 36 best drivers to deserve a spot. I think he's given an amazing opportunity that he may necessarily not deserve by racing at 23:11. But I think based upon what he's able to do and based upon what we've seen at him at 23:11, yeah, I think he's done a relatively good job. He's actually had some bad luck. I mean, he's been wrecked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And different, and he's had a horrific pit crew ever since he's been at 23:11. That is one thing that's been consistent. But I'm by far not a Bubba Wallace fan, but I agree with you wholeheartedly, Joe. I think Bubba has done what he's needed to do to put himself in a position, and everybody else has screwed themselves, and especially Ross Chastain, to make this close when it really shouldn't be that close. So I do like your pick, Joe.
Well, yeah, and I'm going to remain proper. I mean, his God-given name is Darrell Wallace Jr. and that's what I'm going to go with.
DWJ.
Yeah. I'm not going with the nicknames.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's done as much heat as he gets and everything. I've been really actually impressed the way he's finished races where all of a sudden you look and it's like it's like in Indianapolis, like he finished 5th, and I'm like, how did he finish 5th?
Yep.
Like, where did he come from? So I think he's done a really good job just finishing races. That's been the key to everything. And obviously it shows that if you can, finish your races, you're going to be in a really good playoff spot.
It is when you have the speed that 23:11 has.
Yeah, and I think he had to step up his game. I think he watched Tyler Reddick, and think about Tyler, what he's finished top 3 in the last 4 out of the last 5 races or something. So something like that. So I think
Tyler Reddick could have won 2 of the last 3 races. If we're being
think about Chicago,
honest.
like if he wouldn't hit the inside wall, we wouldn't have Alex Mona as a winner.
Yep.
But
yep.
I know you are you still gonna pick one? I have 2 like sleepers that was on.
You can't have 2, Travis. Go ahead, Ryan.
You can have 2 sleepers. I'll do mine real quick. Mine's a boring one. When you said I can't believe I'm going to say blah blah, I thought you were talking about Denny Hamlin. I think we're going into primetime Denny Hamlin tracks. I mean, when you talk about, I wish I had LA Knight here when it comes to tracks that Denny Hamlin's good at. Richmond, yeah. When Daytona, yeah. Darlington, yeah. I mean, this guy he's really, really good at these tracks. He's won the Daytona 500 multiple times. He won at Richmond. He's always been good at Richmond. Toyota's always good at Richmond. When it comes to Darlington, Toyota's been really, really good at Darlington here recently. And at Michigan, I mean, anything can really go at Michigan. We haven't had a whole lot of recent things to show. Ford usually was terrible at Michigan, but won last year with Chris Buescher. It's usually been a Toyota track. So, I think Denny Hamlin, it's kind of like he started off flaming hot. He's reached a little bit of a lull, and I think now we're going to that 2-week stretch off. Goes back to being one of the hottest drivers in the sport. So I think Denny Hamlin solidifies himself as the regular season champion, battling Kyle Larson, which I think poetically is how it should be the entire year.
Mm-hmm. I think it goes back to 2. He's been struggling to finish races too.
Yep.
I mean, he had the engine blow up at Sonoma last 2 weeks ago at Brickyard Erect. So I think
Runs out of gas. The gas situation has screwed him a couple times. Yeah.
Yep. So I think you look at that. But
And Joe, just go ahead and get your 2 word or 3 words out.
What's that?
What you got to say about Denny Hamlin?
Fuck Denny Hamlin.
All right, there we go. So who's your 2 sleepers, Travis?
I think you look at. I think Trackhouse is due, right? So
They're due.
I was on the debate with Ross Chastain. I think he's got to find a little consistency. He's got some decent places coming up. I see them making a little bit of a surge, and it's just me. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm kind of gone that way with him. I think Ross is due, and I think the very last one I have is Ty Gibbs. He fell off here a little bit lately. I think Ty Gibbs is going to get back on a roll. He's got some.
I thought he would win this year, and we're running out of time.
We're running out of time, but I see him making a little bit of a splash. I could see him easily making it into the to the Elite Eight or whatever they call it, round of 8. So I think he's going to make a little bit of a push.
Joe, do you got any sleepers?
No.
Okay. That was kind of strange.
You're running. I do, but
we're
getting close to time, and we'll save that for our live show.
Yeah, my one sleeper is Chris Buescher. I fully believed in him the entire year, and with Brad Keselowski running well, I mean he won these next 2 races last year. I mean he won at Richmond and
3 out of the 4, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Too.
Yep, and I just feel like this is setting up for him. I feel like the 2-week break is possibly the best. Like Joe, in football, there's just a time where that bye comes and it's perfect. Like you really need to just clear your head, get healthy mentally, physically, and this may be the perfect opportunity for RFK because I don't know what's happened to where Chris Buescher has not been nearly as good as what we saw last year, yet Brad Keselowski has been really, really good.
It's almost like the curse of Darlington with him. It looked like we were going to see his first win. He got screwed a little bit by some dumbassery, and it's almost like that's just stuck with him,
Brad K won.
Yeah, another race that Tyler Reddick should have won, possibly. So, So that's going to be our late season pushes. I plan on doing a video, and it's going to be the importance of Kyle Busch still in NASCAR. I think we're going to have a whole lot of news. We could do our own video of these continued labor talks that have not. It's not really labor; it's an agreement because there is no union. But I think a whole lot of stuff is being held up on that. We still have the 7 car open. We still have no front row field there. So, I mean, we have a whole lot of stuff still yet to be pieced together when it comes to the musical chairs that can be the rest of the season as well. And we're on the verge of the playoffs. And, we've been doing this, since January? Been making multiple videos every week since January. And
there's like 5 cars open, right? I mean, let's be realistic. You got 2311, you got Trackhouse, you have
hypothetically
7 car, you have
not hypothetically.
I mean, I think you got about 5 cars open if you really think about it.
I will say this, and this is unrelated, but just a quick plug. I want to know if you make it to this part in the video, please comment because I think I'm going to do a short video on dumbass comments made on NASCAR pages on Facebook because I think some of these need to come to light, and it's a whole segment, and I really just want to get them out there and talk about them. So let me know in the comments if you want to see that video.
We'll have to rent a server. That's how long that video would be. It's just literally page by page. So yeah, we're excited to be back. We'll be bringing some shorts your way. Joe, you made a great short of a young Kyle Busch and a very, very violent Talladega wreck. That was fun. Joe, you've been doing some iRacing. Travis is getting back into it, and he'll be here with us as well. And we'll get back into our traditional schedule along with a lot more. Definitely going to do some stuff ranking some 90s, 2000s, 2010s drivers, all of that and more. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Joe, for being here as well. You can also find Joe on Twitch outside of these things where he will be racing as well. So we will be with you next time and on the TikToks as well. So we'll see you. This is Stuck in the Catchfence. My name's Ryan. God bless.